You all probably know about Celeste already. It's charming, thought-provoking, and really frustrating sometimes. Celeste is one of the highest rated indie games on Steam, and now that we're 4 years post-launch, there's one obvious question to ask. What's next? Well, I'm here to answer that for you. The next project by Extremely OK Games is named Earthblade, and they're calling it a 2D explor-action game in a seamless pixel art world. The project was first shown to the world on April 19th, 2021 with a beautiful vibe reveal poster. Earthblade will still be made by the same core team that created Celeste. They've been working together for over 10 years at this point, and Earthblade is said to be an even more collaborative effort than their previous games. Maddie Thorson, the game's director, had this to say about their announcement. Think of this as a vibe reveal. We didn't want to reveal much about the game or its story yet, but we think that this well establishes the world and the feeling of being in it. Let's look at the poster a bit more closely. A mysterious character with a glowing blue sword is looking out into a dark and twisted forest. Down below we see some flies, a giant crow, and a cabin nestled in between the tree roots. In the sky, an airship pokes through the clouds, and a decrepit and twisted structure seems to be what the character is focusing on. Maybe that's where we're headed to in the game. What you're hearing right now is the musical part of the Earthblade teaser, which was created by Lena Rain, and you can listen to it right now on SoundCloud. For a while, that's all the info we had on Earthblade, but since then, Maddie has posted a few more updates, and we've gotten to see some sneak peeks into the design process, the artwork, and some commonly asked questions. Let's start with the characters. This first character was actually shown to us in November 2019, way before Earthblade was ever announced. They were also on the banner used to promote XOK's Discord server. Speaking of Discord, I may be starting my own server in the future, so be on the lookout for that. Character 2 was revealed in November 2020. They also appear in this pixel art that shows a small part of the magical world that was teased earlier. My best guess is this is our protagonist because they're the only person we've seen in the game so far. And then we saw a tiny peek at one last character earlier this year in March. They're being drawn by Amora B, who is an artist at Extremely OK. It's hard to say, but I think this might be my favorite of the three. There's just something about those pants and that giant backpack that calls to me. So by now, you might have a little better of an idea about the look and feel of the world we'll be playing in. Let's move on then to a quick Q&A Maddie hosted on Twitter in July. The first question was about Earthblade's genre and whether or not it'll be a Metroidvania. To this, Maddie said, "I still think explor-action describes it best. I'm not sure it's quite meant to be there in place of Metroidvania though. I can't choose between action and explore. They both depend on the other to work here." The next question was about following up on the success of Celeste and managing the pressure of expectations. Her response? Consciously making Earthblade a different kind of game from Celeste helps. In general, subverting or sidestepping expectations rather than trying to give people the same thing but more or better diffuses that somewhat and makes the process more fun for us. What about the team's approach to designing mechanics, enemies, and obstacles? She answered, "It depends. On Earthblade, everything centers around the world building, so we'll primarily talk about the history of the area to find direction. In contrast, Celeste was anchored by Madeline's emotional journey." And finally, about the game's engine. For Earthblade, we made our own engine and tools, working in C++. While we're on the topic of the engine, here's a look at the one being used to create Earthblade. If we compare it to this picture I showed you earlier, the main difference is the lighting and shading. The level seems to be very early in the game since there's room for some tutorial text up here. Our goal seems to be solving a simple puzzle in order to open these two doors. It also looks like these blocks can move up and down along this path, or they're able to swing side to side. Either way, what I'm guessing is maybe a magical plant seems to be the key to the solution and the way we'll be able to activate this portal. I can definitely see some similarities to Celeste here, but the magical woodland setting is super cool and it actually looks like we're inside of a giant tree. A few final details we have come from this image, where some interesting things are written on the whiteboard about artifacts in Earthblade. The two artifacts listed are Vampire Tooth and Executioner's Gauntlet. The first reduces the player's max HP by 25%, but gives us 5% lifesteal on our weapon. The second causes our weapon to kill enemies below 10% health. So this confirms that combat will be a big part of the game, and we'll have some cool items to equip that'll change our stats. And now, it's time for the big question. When are we going to be able to play Earthblade? Well, let's see what our friend Maddie has to say about that. And I quote, "Our hope is that we can make most or all of the game's content this year, and then release in 2023 after some form of private beta test, polishing, localization, and of course the dreaded console certification." She also had something to say about XOK's studio culture, and that is the fact that employees are welcome and even encouraged to work on side projects, and that's pretty cool of them. Instead of forcing creatives to dedicate all the time and energy to your own project, they should be able to explore other avenues and experiment where they want to. And this is just another reason why indie games are the best. One thing we do know about the future of Earthblade is the team isn't going to be revealing too much info. As Maddie said, an air of mystery lends itself particularly well to this project, so we've opted to save it all up for a big reveal that will hopefully blow your socks off. So you can all keep your cozy socks on your feet for now and shuffle on over to this video to check out another cool upcoming game.